and welcome back to the penultimate episode of the Football Fanatic podcast, episode 30. Where are we now? Episode 38, and we are slowly edging towards the end, but we still do not know who's going to take the title this season. Whether it's in the Premier League or in fantasy football, it is going down to the wire. So with me, as always, Daniel Coulter from Kilkenny after an unbelievable Springsteen concert last night. And Howard has managed to get himself away from his new bride for 1 hour this week. How are you doing, Howard? From where?
Oh, good.
Where are you again in Spain? Remind
I'm
me.
on the Mediterranean coast here in a place called Lloret de Mar.
Sounds
Yeah,
nice.
it turns out it's like the Ibiza of Catalonia at the moment.
And you
So
were saying there's loads of
yeah,
people, like it's like the Vegas. There's like a
yeah,
strip or something.
a load of Geordies and Fury fans going around headbutting people.
Did you see John Fury?
I
Jesus
see.
Christ.
What a
Say,
header!
what a
Fuck's sake.
header. Yeah, yeah. It
Did you
was so
see
nonchalant. He just
see his
turned around.
interview? See his interview he gave on Sky Sports just there a
Yeah,
little.
Afterwards,
no
like blood coming
remorse.
down his head.
No remorse.
This is what we do. We
Yeah,
fight. My
He literally
it's
God,
like
he
my.
was so nonchalant though. He just literally was just, pottering around and like so just turn around, well, boom.
yeah. It was that like we're not here to scream and shout, and then 2 seconds later he's like
Yeah,
Fury,
honest
Fury.
to God, yeah. What time will
Yeah,
it be on at the weekend?
I think is it early or something? I thought I saw something
it's a
about it.
them fights in the car. They're supposed to be early, but going by the last few
All
of
right,
the mid the over in Saudi, it seems to be that they make such a spectacle out of it. It takes fucking
of
hours
course.
to drag it
Yeah,
out. So I don't know. I it's supposed to be on a bit earlier, but I think it'll still probably end up being 11 or it'll be
10 or
late
11
enough.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
And like,
Still a good fight though.
who's the favorite for it?
I imagine
Because
Fury is
I'm
it.
not into boxing at all. So
Yeah, I'd say Fury, but like they're both undefeated, so that whole
okay,
someone though must go. So it's
Yeah,
kind of like
Summer Tom.
it's kind of one of them where on form, if you're looking at the form book, Usyk would be favourite in regards to his results, because Tyson Fury recently nearly got knocked out by Ngannou, who was his first ever boxing fight, and nearly could have lost that fight actually, I think on points. So his last couple of challengers, his fights have been Chisora and White, which would be they both of them were kind of he done what he needed to do, but Usyk has gone in there and like bashed Joshua a couple of times, and
Yeah,
oh yeah.
he,
And come here,
he
what ages are they?
Usyk is actually older, I think, than Fury. I think Usyk is like 37, is he? And is he Fury 35? But like they're both like kind of, I suppose. I looked at I don't know if you've seen Fury today. Like he looks in phenomenal shape in comparison
yeah.
Oh,
to what he was like when he fought in Ngannou. So I think the Fury will win. He kind of just he's bigger, he's a longer reach, and I think he'll kind of maul him around the place. Just kind of Fury is a big one of his big attributes actually is leaning on other fighters. I don't know if you ever notice
okay.
his fights, but he kind of just he puts all his weight on them and kind of makes it really it kind of like sucks the life out of them. But he is class. In fairness, for a big man, he is class. Even though he like look, he divides opinion. I think with some
He's like
angles, but
the bear in Tekken. In Tekken he used to
yeah,
have the bear. He's basically that,
yeah.
And Dan,
mauling people.
would you follow boxing
I
live?
do. Yeah, I'm mad to go to one actually. I'd love to go to one of the big fights in like the O2 or Wembley or something.
Yeah.
I think it'd be class. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'd watch the in particular the heavyweight fight. Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I'd follow it, and yeah, it
Have
should be a
you
good fight. Should be a
have
good
you
fight.
ever put on the gloves?
No, I've never put on gloves, but I would have been prone to a scrap, a bare knuckle scrap back in the school days.
The fields of Navan. I can picture it right now. Okay, look, boxing aside, let's
Anyway,
get to what we
yeah.
really are supposed to talk about. Football.
Yeah, Howard
Yeah,
and Deck are going to be boxing each other here
Boxing the
now.
heads off each other, headbutting.
I've bet Howard up years ago as kids.
Yeah, that's true.
That's not a lie. I've bet him up plenty of times over the years. I've F5'd him into like the door and everything. Like so, I have. That's not a lie. Anyways, okay. Compose ourselves, lads. All
Yes,
right,
yeah.
compose ourselves.
Deep
Fulham
breaths.
nil, Man City 4, Man United nil, Arsenal 1. What the hell is going to happen tomorrow night? Spurs versus City. Gary Neville says that this is a title decider because he sees both teams winning at home on Sunday, as do I. Yeah, so is tomorrow night's game the title decider, do you think?
Well, quoting Moisey there, he said that they could put out their under 14s team and they still win the title. So judging,
David Moyes said that.
David Moyes said that in the interview. Yeah, he said Man
Did
City
he?
could put
But
out their
did
under
he mean
14s team.
Did he mean versus Tottenham tomorrow night?
No, he means for the West Ham game.
Oh, apologies. Okay.
He's saying if City put out their under 14s team, they'll still they could win the title. So that's
That's
take what you want for that. Like, but it's a bit of a weird one.
you'd feel sorry for him because the players must have just down tools and they're just waiting for him to leave.
Like, there's no way they're going to get the worry is that actually if there was a draw tomorrow, that City could batter West Ham 6 or 7-0 if they needed to.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
If it was the West Ham of maybe last season or the season before, where they were known for just being resolute at the back, didn't give up too much, you kind of would feel maybe to give them a game. But they're about to conceded nearly the second or third most goals this season. So you can't have any faith in them from a defensive point of view.
Yeah. That's actually a scenario that hasn't been talked about yet. It's either tomorrow night if City don't win, whereas if tomorrow night City draw, that puts Arsenal and City level. Then Arsenal have a three goal difference, 3 goals more than City. And I mean, I don't know, like, what do you see happening? I know we've talked about it already, and Howard, I know you don't think Spurs are going to turn up, but I mean, listening to Ange and listening to Rooney and doing the punch yesterday, I mean, footballers are going to be footballers at the end of the day. They have to be somewhat professional. They're not going to lie down for City. I mean, if City go and do their job, they should absolutely have enough quality to beat Tottenham. But they're not. It's not like Tottenham are going to lie down for them. And I mean, if Ange Postecoglou sees any player not putting in a shift, he'd be the type of manager that will take them off straight away. You'd imagine.
I think that I know it's an old cliche, but the first goal is key because I think if Spurs were to go 1-0 up, I think that, obviously puts the pressure on the City, but it gives Spurs a bit of belief because Spurs, they scraped over the line against Burnley at the weekend. Like, I mean, they're a team that aren't full of confidence. If they manage to go 1-0 with the crowd behind them on their last home game, you'd imagine that would give them a bit of a lift. But I think if City go and score one, like the Fulham thing at the weekend again, I think the City just go and bang one in. I could see Spurs just completely just fucking down in tools. They don't have much discipline at the back as it is, but I think it would just go completely out the window. And it wouldn't surprise me if Spurs were hit for quite a few.
You're saying there, Dan, like if they got a goal, the fans get behind them. The fans will be not getting behind them.
I know. There is that. I feel like you as well that probably is the case, although I do understand the argument of they're being paid to go out and play. Like Daniel Levy, you know what I mean? I'd love to know how Daniel Levy feels about it all. He's paying their wages if they're to go out and not put it. I just think the fact that they've been in such poor form and everyone's expecting City to win, it's kind of like it's not one of these things where Spurs are coming into this, they're red hot, and then suddenly then just go and put in a stinker. You kind of look at them and be like, oh fucking they're just down tools. They didn't bother their holes trying, but actually because they're being so shit recently, you're kind of like, okay, you just expect them to be gung ho attack and get caught out on the break several times and City just to go and beat them. But look, I think the football, I suppose, me being the neutral, hopes that it's a game and it does go to the last day. With like, it'd be really interesting if it did go down to the goal difference thing, because I never really thought it'd be a factor, but I'd have a concern if it does, even with Arsenal having a couple of goals, because Everton, I'd imagine, will still go there and play the Dyche way, and they're the kind of games that Arsenal have struggled at times to break down that kind of low block, real dogged. Or like, I just think West Ham are just going to get hit for a couple. That City will hit them for a couple, I think, on Sunday. So I still feel, as much so as I hope that there is a game in it, I still think that the Spurs fans, faithful, and a lot of them players, they'll be hearing it all week, what people are on the ground, and the staff that are there, what they all think about the situation, and they will not want Arsenal to lift the title.
Of course. Yeah. And I mean, you heard Merson yesterday saying on Sky Sports that if City scores, Spurs will celebrate. I would fucking pay to see that. I mean, you can imagine, say Haaland gets a penalty and the whole stadium starts celebrating.
They'll cheer, yeah. I like it. Maybe Merson getting his tattoo might give them a bit more incentive if they win. But
here's one for you. With Deck, for example, yesterday, you would have been cheering on United.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
And you absolutely despise it. But that's what I mean. It's just it's when you're in the hunt. You know what I mean? Like, as well, you were cheering on Man United. You were beating that test
Yeah,
screaming
the
at
difference
Garnacho.
is that you're
Took my
cheering
clothes
against your
off.
own team.
Yeah, I know.
That's the
I know.
difference. It's like if it was City versus United, it's like for me, like it's all to do with the game tonight. Actually, the Liverpool Villa game. I think
One leads
if
to the other,
if
yeah.
if Liverpool get something out of that game, it really, at least it'll give some sort of professionalism to Tottenham to go out there and go for their top four position, because like Ange will want, you hear him in his interview, he wants to like progress the team, and in order to progress the team you need to get into the top four, you need to get the funds for that, you need to get back and then from the club, so it is a big step if they were to get it. And like Villa have Crystal Palace away last game of the season, like that's I can't actually see them winning that game personally at the moment, the way Palace are playing.
Yeah.
And Tottenham have Sheffield United. So there is something there if Villa
Absolutely, yeah.
weren't to win tonight. And that if Villa were winning tonight, I cannot see, like, it would be the most outrageous thing for Tottenham to go then and win that game. It just makes no sense. Like,
it's interesting what you said there, because like, you think the likes of Son, he's getting on. He wants to play in the Champions League. You know what I mean? Like, from what you're saying there, like
players want,
the likes of some of, of course, all players want to play the Champions League, but for the likes of, Son, who's world class, who could be playing should be playing in a team that's in the Champions League actually, and maybe it'd be interesting to know he's been at Spurs quite a long time. If they thinking it,
I was about to ask who would come in for Son and how much would Son go for? Given the season that has just have.
Well, I fucking got, if I was apparently Slaughter, if I was
no,
definitely
apologies. I mean, like, plenty would go for him, but I'm just curious, who do you think would go for him, and how much would you get for like Son right now, like given the season that the Spurs have had? Like,
I don't know what his contract situation is, but if I was City, I'd offload Grealish and I get Son in. For example, if you were looking at like what, like, if I was Arsenal,
he's a good age though now, isn't he? He's probably in his 30s.
He probably is. I don't know what his contract situation is either, but I just think
he's in his 50s.
Yeah, he's a good age. Yeah, but anyway, that's a kind of a side point, but it's interesting, Howard, on the Champions League. There is that kind of want, of course, and again, is it a bit of a small? It's looking at the short term thing. Yeah, Arsenal win the title, but if you are Spurs and you want to be able to put the money in and to really back Ange in the summer, you kind of, that Champions League football will give them a platform to fairly compete on a higher level next season.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Like, the only thing is that the title race hasn't really given us any major twists yet. And there's usually one at some stage during the season. So maybe it's yet to come. That's what
West Ham 2-0 up. I can see it. 2-0 up. 17 minutes to go.
City again. Joey Barton comes on the pitch and gets sent off.
Fucking Vardy scores a fucking screamer from 70 yards. They go and he's getting equalizer in the 90th minute. I can just see fucking something then,
Vardy's first goal at the weekend, he took it very, very well. I mean, he scored, like, he's up there. I think Haaland, Foden, and then Gvardiol in April. God, like,
it's gas.
Ridiculous amount of goals. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, this day 12 years ago, the 13th of May 2012, like, the biggest kind of twist of all was the Aguero moment. Unbelievable. So I mean, is there a twist to come?
Deck, just on that, I saw something, I think it was 16 years ago, Man City lost 8-1 to Middlesbrough.
Yeah, before the oil came in. Before the oil.
Just what we were talking about in the past,
Yeah, it was 2008, May 2008, I think. Then that summer.
And like, I suppose here's a question on that. Because you're saying that, Howard, but but like, can Man City fans really celebrate winning the league? As in, I mean, what I mean by that is to the full extent as they would in previous years, considering the big very dark cloud that's hanging over them in the coming
cloud
months.
Of shit.
No, but I'm being serious about it. Like, can you actually hand on heart sit there and say that you can 100%, really get behind this? Knowing that there's
go on, Deck. What's your
serious repercussions?
Oh no, he asked you. I thought, did he?
No.
I'm asking both of you.
Apologies. My hand on heart, absolutely, because until we're proven guilty, what do you call it? Actually, no, I'm not even going to go into that. I'm not even going to kind of go into the whole debate whether we're innocent or guilty. Like, I'm kind of sitting here and saying, all
But
right,
the
there's
dark
a team,
cloud deck,
we've got.
the
Yeah,
shit
yeah, Tech.
storm hasn't happened
Yeah,
yet, but
but
there's still
look,
a dark cloud.
Yeah, it's
there is a
Tech.
cloud. There is a cloud, or until it is kind of rectified, like there is a big question mark over it. But again, like I've gone into this, like it's irrelevant to me. It doesn't matter. Like it's on the pitch. I'm a football fan, like, and I love.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
but like you'd
yeah.
be the same if it was Liverpool, if it was hanging over Liverpool, etc. And I mean, the longer it goes on, like the less likely it is that I see anything happening to City because at this stage, I think that the Premier League have just dug themselves a hole that they I don't know, they seem to be stalling. I know your man, whatever his name is, the Premier League chief. He knows, is it Masters? Is it Richards? No.
Richard something, yeah.
Richards,
Someone
yeah,
came out and basically said it. A date has been set,
yeah.
but
Awesome. I think it's October, I think.
yeah,
Oh,
but I mean, they haven't given a date. Like they haven't given any kind of information as to when it might be settled. So it just again, there's something kind of going on in the background as to
uh,
why they can't give any update.
yeah, and that's the interesting word you used there was settled because there is talk that that could be why everything is a bit because
Yeah,
behind the scenes there's talk of whether or not both parties would settle. I don't know what that looks like or what
yeah.
that, but that it
Take
wouldn't
that. Like
necessarily go the.
talk about that for a sec. Like to have the whole thing settled out of court or whatever the hell you want to call it. Like
Yeah, that's a guilty verdict.
yeah, but I wouldn't like that either. Like I don't want that. I want them to kind of if I'm taking off my City hat now, right now. If City done wrong,
It's fucking
I,
glued to your.
what was that? I can't. You
It's
broke
fucking
up.
glued to your head.
What do you call it? If City did wrong and they cheated, etc. Like I don't want to be I don't want to be just, given a slap on the wrist and told off you go. If we're found guilty, like we should be punished. If we're innocent, I want us to be told we are innocent, and I want all of the other dickhead clubs to know that we are innocent. You know. But I mean,
Yeah,
I don't want this to settle. That's something that happens in, like the, small claims court and stuff
Vince
like that.
McMahon.
Yeah, well, no comment there. But I mean, I don't want it to be settled and then a sum is paid to like the lower leagues or to youth football or millions from City or something. I want it to be properly, sorted
Clean.
out and move on. Whether that means we go down a few divisions, we're docked points for the upcoming season, whatever that is, banned from Europe. Let it happen and then let us get on with it. Because I mean, settling doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean it's guilty. It doesn't mean we're innocent. It just means we've decided we can't bring this any further, and they're going to pay money, and that's it.
And the answer is yes, Stan. That's what that sounds like. Yes, there is a dark cloud.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just it's interesting because I just feel if it was me. I don't know about you, Howard, but I just feel if it was me, that regardless, I know Deck kind of goes to the whole kind of, you know, he's all in, like he's the all in brigade, like that. Oh, I don't care. That's nothing got to do with me, and you just completely deflect it away. This is the club's business, and that's not got to do with me. But I just think, as a fan of my club, if that was Liverpool in that scenario, it turns out that they've cheated to win a lot of trophies. If that is what's given, it's the fact cheating. I would be disappointed. I'd be pissed off with my club. That's just
of
how I feel.
course.
You haven't said that, Deck. You've
I
always
just did I not just say like if we are found guilty, like I want us to be punished. I do, honest to God. I will get great satisfaction out of seeing us try and come back up the leagues, or if it's one or two divisions lower. Like there's an element of kind of enjoyment in that. Seeing would Pep stay? Would a few players stay? Like who would go? And like there's a
Pep is
whole
not going to stay.
who?
Pep won't be staying anyway.
Well, look, again, we don't know. Like it's all speculation, but
It's all
until
exactly. It's all look. It's all.
it is all speculation, but the only thing is that however, it would be wonderful is that Declan will be here on the podcast, but we won't actually ever have to talk about Man City because there won't be League One, and we don't talk about League One.
Yeah,
yeah, we just
I
talk about
think
the
is
Premier
like I
League.
think what Dan is kind of getting at is the Liverpools and Arsenal this year again, like they've performed at such a high level that like a freak of nature has beaten them each time to the title, and it can be pretty infuriating if that freak of nature got there illegally. I suppose that's what it boils down to. You know what I mean?
That's fair enough. But I think, regardless, if City were found to be innocent, would that change your minds as to whether they did anything wrong? Like,
I
would you
I
still believe that they?
I would feel like what happened before. Yeah, I don't feel that City are innocent. There's a difference between being innocent and what you can prove and not prove in court.
Yeah.
But I will happily come on here and apologize for some of the views I've given you if they were to be. I will apologize because they will of course have been found innocent. So I'll apologize for some of the abuse I give you, but it won't change the feeling that I have that there is no doubt that there is skullduggery that has gone on here,
Skullduggery.
and it's just about whether or not what you can prove. But anyway, look, it was just a question, just pending the season of the feeling around it, and it's interesting the way I suppose with Sky, with all the money that's involved in the game, everyone kind of tiptoes around it. I don't know if you remember there was a while ago when they had Ian Wright on it, and kind of said to the Monday Night Football, and it was like everyone just kind of like, oh Jesus, he's actually mentioned this, because he mentioned about the charges, because nobody talks about it because there's so much money, and because again, and in fairness, we don't know the facts, we don't know it, so there is that element too, but no one kind of is really in the media kind of touching on it even. I think that, like, this is still a big massive thing that it kind of, I suppose, will become more evident in the coming months as to how much it's going to take over. But like I said, it's a terrible look for the game, like the fact that this is going and you have a club versus your association going at it. It's not a good look for anybody either. Like, that's the other side of it, But anyway,
all right. Just one or two more things from actually from yesterday's game, Arsenal versus United. When Rooney was in punditry, he made a comment that like some of the players that are injured at Man United, they could be putting themselves forward to be available for games, but they're choosing not to because they don't want to be in the limelight of what's going on with Man United at the moment. And I just thought it was an interesting comment to make because I had thought the same myself, but I didn't think someone might actually say it, within punditry. Like, do you think that happens?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'd say it does. Yeah, I'd say the way Rooney phrased it, it wasn't like his opinion. It was like he knew
He
information.
said 100% like it's happening.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I don't know who them people are,
That's
whether
the
he's
thing.
talking
Yeah.
about Fernandez and Rashford or what. But yeah, look, it's a shit show over there in like the you just have to look at the stadium falling apart as we mentioned there in the WhatsApp messages to realize how much it's just the whole thing is just it's just gone really bad, isn't it? They played all right, I thought, yesterday, but they don't have the players. Like, the players are poor. Like, the lineup yesterday was poor.
I
The
sent a
bench was
message into the
poor.
group that like that was the weakest Man United squad, first
Yeah,
11 and subs that I've ever seen. I didn't recognize like some of the players that were on the bench.
yeah.
But yeah, no, you kind of touched on the other point that I was going to bring up was the stadium. I know like Gary Neville has said in the past just how badly the stadium needs to be refurbished, but I mean, Jesus Christ, I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, the
Yeah.
fucking rain was lashing and pouring down, and it was leaking through the stadium onto the seats, and I mean, it was embarrassing. Like, it was so bad. I knew, like, obviously, I've heard that the stadium really needs work, but I mean, to see that happen and live TV for that to happen is like that's how kind of the club really has fallen.
Yeah, the Glazers, like, you talk about United fans, they hating the Glazers now. Like, you can see, like, where they're coming from in all
Why?
these
Yeah,
different aspects. So,
absolutely.
but
That was crazy.
just on the game itself, like, we thought it was a pretty poor game in general. Arsenal looked very nervy. I think the pressure got to them to a point. Like, I think if that was City now, they would have won 3 or 4-0. I think the occasion got to them a bit, Arsenal, but thankfully United are so bad that like when they had the ball, they couldn't do anything with it. So yeah, they were kind of blessed in that aspect. So
Just a
yeah.
quick note actually on Casemiro. I'll tell you,
Oh,
the poor lad is
like, like,
is
you
he
gotta
getting
tell
found? Is he
Ten
getting
Hag,
found
like,
out or what?
but like Ten Hag, like, you can't be like. I was listening to the second captains there earlier on today, and like they were talking about uh, playing Scott McTominay in the centre half. Like, why didn't
Yeah,
I think there was a question put to Ten Hag after the game? Would you have not put in Scott McTominay? Like, he's like, oh, I know he's played a couple of times for Scotland, but I haven't seen him play for Scotland there, and apparently he hasn't been great. This is what he says, and like, like Ken Early was there, like saying, sure, look. You play Casemiro centre half 4 times, like that hasn't gone exactly well either.
like
So
it's
look,
been a disaster.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think they made the point on Sky, but and it is a valid one. I think So like obviously other clubs have had injuries, a load of injuries. Like Liverpool were playing kids for a period of the season. Like they were bringing in lads that were making their debut. You know what I mean? So like he had the young lad that played against Liverpool when we played them, that was played centre half that day in a big game. Like he left him on the bench and continued to play Casemiro again with Evans at centre back. And like knowing that it hadn't worked, it was like the performance against Crystal Palace was I can't think of. I know it's fresh off in my head, but I can't think of a worse one like that they've had. Since Ferguson, it was that bad. They were so bad that night. I know they are missing some key players. I think Fernandez had actually come into good form for them and has got injured, I think, as well in the attacking sense. But like he didn't play that young lad that at centre back. He went for Casemiro. And again, I actually think looking at that goal conceded, like, there were so many mistakes in it. And I think for Johnny Evans, I think he gets away with it a bit because he's at the tail end of his career, and he came in as a backup player. He was never brought in to start games. He was one that kind of would come in, do a job for you here for a few minutes here and there. But like I don't know how many starts he's had this season. But
he's played most, I think, out of all the centre halves.
Yeah, but like he should, when you look at some of the like that goal that he conceded and against Crystal Palace, like some of his defending for an experienced player. You look at Thiago Silva at his age and how his reading of the game and being able to just do the right things. Like Johnny Evans was because for that Mateta goal last week, like it was ridiculous. You wouldn't see you see that in Sunday League football.
But Johnny Evans was never Thiago Silva, like, you know, even in his prime.
No, but I'm saying, I know, but what I'm trying to say is he's an experienced centre back. It's where the way he's played in the last two games that, like, you know what I mean. He has, like, he's played a lot of games. You know what I mean? Like, but anyway, Casemiro, I think you mentioned at the start of the season, Howard, he came back overweight. The attitude came back. He was overweight. He started slowly.
Howard, you said you'd seen a picture doing the rounds or something that he carrying a few pounds. You still haven't shown us that photo, by the way.
I must send it on to you now. Have a screenshot of it.
But like it is, you know, it is car crash stuff, and he wasn't great there. Like he didn't get out for the goal. Like,
he's just meandering. Like it's just so lazy, isn't it? Like it's so bad, like bad professionally. I expect the Tottenham players to be doing that now tomorrow. That's what I expect.
Yeah. So look, there's no real there's nothing really positive you can take out of it. Now, it's interesting seeing Keane and Rooney talking about whether or not, you know, it's still their Man United and they'd want to get in Europe. But I really feel that they'd be much better off now finishing eighth, to be honest with you. Because I don't know what the income is for, you know, they don't have a great squad. It doesn't look like they have that many good youngsters. I know there's one or two that have come through this year. But like, what way were they going to be next year playing in the conference, if it's the conference, or even if they manage to get into the Europa League? Like, I don't see what benefit it would have them. They'd be much better off to trim their squad down, just have a game a week, plus the cups, and try and get back into the Champions League being their kind of first step. I don't see what benefit it has of them getting into Europe, really. Like, I don't know what the financials are of
yeah.
I know if you get into Europa, it gives you another option of getting into the Champions League if you win the Europa League. But like if you end up in the conference, what is that financially to be in that competition? You know.
Not all fair points. Now we'll move on. So I suppose Saturday night, the player of the season, young player of the season, and manager of the season are going to be announced. So just wanted to chat about this for a few minutes. So we'll start with maybe player of the season. So just actually the nominations and then just a word on who hasn't been included, because I think that's more interesting than who has been included. Foden, Haaland, Rice, Odegaard, Virgil van Dijk, Watkins, Isaac, and Palmer. 8 candidates, and who hasn't been included. So Saka, Saliba, or Rodri have all been, you know, not up for player of the year, which I think is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, Saliba, in my opinion, has been the reason why Arsenal have improved. He's added that steal. And I think he's the reason. Like, Gabriel has had a great season, but I think Saliba has been, I think he's been your player of the season. I know Rice has been excellent, so is Odegaard, so is Saka, but I just think that Saliba has added that steal that he needed to go to the next level. So the fact he hasn't been included, I think, is ridiculous. Saka as well, like he's had his best season probably for you.
Yeah, like
Rodri,
his performance level for Saka though. I know he's carried a few niggles. A lot of the game, I know he hasn't stood out to me this year, even though I know his numbers are quite good. I think Odegaard has again stood out to me more. And of course,
I think just on the touch on the second quickly, like he's being targeted, like doubled up on. I don't mean like foul. I just mean like they know he is the strong point of the Arsenal team when they're tackling down that wing. So they've doubled up on him and they've made it a lot harder for him to make an impact. I think as a winger like that, like Odegaard can float in and out, so he'll still be hard to track. But like when you're on a winger like that and you're doubled up on, it does really kind of reduce down your capabilities. Like so, I think maybe like he's still been very good, but I could take the fact that he didn't make the player of the year nominations, whatever. But I would definitely have Saliba in there ahead of Odegaard and Rice, as you said. Their deck, I think, like the best defense in the Premier League this year, and it's mainly thanks to him.
Yeah.
And Rodri, I don't understand that.
No.
I wouldn't have Haaland in there. I'd take
No,
Haaland out, put
absolutely. No,
Rodri in
Haaland,
there.
like fair enough. He is his leading goal scorer. And he's had what I'd say he's had an average season. Fair enough, he's still top goal scorer. Like a few of them have been penalties, but I mean, consider based on last season, I mean, he's been nowhere near that. So I would absolutely have had Rodri in his. Rodri should be in that list, 100%.
100%. Yeah.
So I'm just wondering as to what are they going for? Like, are they trying to balance it out and kind of have players from different teams? But I mean, where's the
Realistically, it should be players from teams that are going for the title. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Okay, Ollie Watkins, you give him maybe his flowers, but apart from that, I don't. Maybe Palmer, you get him in there, but like Palmer's part, he's going to win the young player, like.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I would have had him there for the young player, and then put Saliba or some of that. Like,
yeah,
yeah, I
I
don't know.
think
Like, let's see. I think realistically, I think Foden's going to win it.
yeah. Actually, on to that one now. Who do you think will win it?
Sorry,
I
I
think
think
Foden.
Foden. I think Foden will probably tie. I think he'll just because of the timing where he's hit his peak has been a timing where they're actually
Yeah.
picking the nominations and the awards. So that's who I'd say will get it.
Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, but do you think do you think he should win it, Howard, or you just think he will win it, or do you think though that he deserves to win it?
Good question. I
Yeah, because
think
he kind
like
of
these
yeah
awards should be done after the league, like
yeah
because
Of
it
yeah
depends
course,
on
definitely
yeah,
who wins the league. If City win the league, definitely Foden. If
yeah
Arsenal win the league, not Foden,
yeah,
obviously. You know what I
yeah
mean? So,
yeah.
that's the way I would see it. But I'd say at this stage, looking at the odds and all that, I would say it's going to be him. And if City win it, he'd be deservedly getting it. I'd say.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, so again, you're right. It does come down to who wins it. I think. I mean, who has had the most influential season when you think of players? And I mean, for me, that kind of stands out: Saliba, Rice, Foden. Yeah, one of those three, I think, and one of them isn't even in like the nomination. So I mean, it's a bit ridiculous. Dan, who would you go for?
Yeah, I coming on this, if you ask me who I think the player of the year probably should be, and again, I kind of part of it I think goes back to last year as the Arsenal's collapse was due really to Saliba not being there.
Yeah,
You know, Rice has of course improved them, but we know how good Rice is. I just feel that the Saliba one, like he's come back in, he hasn't just he's been ultra consistent
hmm.
for 2 seasons now, and that in regards to that kind of period of time, like if he was to have been out of Arsenal's team at any stage of the season, I think
Yeah,
they
they
would
would
have
throw
still
it.
they would still have been in trouble where you know they didn't have Rice last season and they got so close. So I would be torn. I feel I looked at the nominees, so kind of I was going with who was in the nominees as opposed to who wasn't, but
Yeah, fair enough.
I'd be with you around Saliba because like they're just he's an absolute colossus, like you know what I
Yeah,
mean, you know, yeah, for me, Saliba, like when I think of like the Saliba season, Van Dijk, I think for a period of the season was very good, but
yeah,
again, I would argue the last his levels again in the last 2 months have dropped. He has been at fault or been involved in some of the goals we've conceded and that as well. So you know, I can't think of geez, I think maybe Saliba might have been like one mistake all season. You know what I mean? Like, where I
yeah,
can kind of
Yeah,
pinpoint a few for others. Foden's an interesting one. Like, yeah, I think like this is probably even though he's been good for a number of years, but it's like it's a breakout season for him in
yeah,
regard his output, I guess, in numbers terms, and influence on the team. Like, and I just think it's a real interesting conversation to have this summer around what way City's team looks going forward. Like you can see in De Bruyne where he's still acute, like good on the ball. He is slowing down. He doesn't have the legs to get around like he used to be able to get around. And in a few of the games, I know he has been decent since he came back, but he's been lackluster in a few games as well. He hasn't been dynamite. Where Foden looks dynamite now, and I think
yeah,
there's a question to be asked there. So I think that you have to give it to Foden based on the numbers and some of his individual performances as well. That's the standout for me is think of the season, there's
Yeah.
a lot of players that have
Scored a few
had-
big goals from.
yeah, there's a few players that have had like a really good solid game, but he's had 3 or 4 like games where he's just been out of this world good. Everything he touched was just turned to goal. So I think Foden would be the rightful winner again if Arsenal were to win the title. I think it's whoever wins the title. I'll be with you there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Foden deserves to win it, and I think Cole Palmer is like a shoo-in for young.
Yeah.
Can Foden win both though? Can Foden
Yeah.
win young as well?
Yeah, they can. Yeah, I mean, on to the young person. So I
Yeah.
suppose there's Foden, Haaland, Palmer, Isaac, Saka, Saliba, Manu, and then
Oh, Saliba's
Spurs.
in that one. Yeah.
Manu, Spurs, Destiny Udagi. Destiny. That's a cool first name, isn't
I wouldn't
it?
have it. I wouldn't have him in there.
Yeah.
I don't.
I mean, he's there have been a few decent performances, but I mean,
yeah, he's a bit clueless at times. Though I don't think he's. Wow. Yeah, I don't know who else goes through him again.
Foden, Haaland, Palmer, Isaac, Saka, Saliba, Manu, Destiny Udagi.
Yes, Isak was out for a lot of the season. He's class, like, but he missed a good bit of the season. Yeah,
it doesn't make sense. The
Could
fact
Saliba win
that
that one? Could he win that one?
that's the thing.
Saliba?
Yeah, but yeah, I agree.
that
Like, I think Saliba or Haaland, sorry, Saliba or Palmer. I would have thought. I mean, Palmer deserves something, surely.
Yeah, Palmer will get. I'd say the young player. Like, yeah.
I don't
just
get
don't.
why
I don't
has
get it.
Saliba
Yeah.
over
why has
Saliba, Howard?
why has Saliba been put into the young player and
It's
not into the
weird.
main one? That doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense.
Yeah, and Palmer is like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, that leads me back to like, what are they basing their kind of selections of the nominations on? Like, is it to balance it out and have like players from a few different clubs? Because I mean, realistically, like that doesn't make sense. The
You
fact
can't have none of the Arsenal defenders on that list. Like, it's just that. Like, you look at the FBL, Dan, the fancy football, and the three
Yeah.
top players are all Ben White,
Yeah.
Gabriel, and Saliba. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's you could not have one of them in
Yeah.
there for the award. But anyway, look,
So,
it's a Mickey Mouse thing anyway. In the end of the day, I bet you Foden will probably win both now, and it'll be all just.
well, he absolutely shouldn't. I mean, if I no, he definitely shouldn't. If I was picking the winners, I would have
Like,
Foden to win, and then probably Palmer to win the young player. But then he can't overlook Saliba either. So I don't know.
are you
it's
trying
too
to tell me
English.
that? Are you trying to tell me that like Udagi had a better season? And fair enough. Again, you can look at the table, but if it individual performances, then like say Braithwaite, your man at Everton.
No,
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
not.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like there is lads if you sit and start thinking about it, going, but if Udagi's on that list, now in fairness, like yeah, look, he's decent. I've seen some games though there where he's completely clueless, so
Yeah,
rash,
absolutely. Yeah.
and constantly got out of position. Like I don't know, just looking here now, is there anyone else that
There's
he's
probably a few
definitely-
other young players that should be in ahead of him. Like
Connor Bradley had a decent season.
Liverpool. Yeah, he's only in
Yeah,
there for
probably-
the
Would he have
second
made the
half.
list? Maybe not, but
he probably hasn't played enough, but I know he of course had impact when he came in. He probably hasn't played enough though. But just looking at it, what age is Van der Ven, for example? Is he? What is
Yeah.
he? He's young enough as well. Is he? Like I don't know.
I don't know. I think he's 24, maybe. I would say.
What's
23 is the limit.
23 is it? Okay, yeah.
22 or 23, yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, I just think that's again, it's weird, and I don't like these, as you know, same with Ballon d'Or. I don't like any of these ones in particular. This one annoys me because it should be at the end of the season that the voting is done after the season is actually over.
If you had to pick your winner,
for the young one, I think Saliba should win an award. I can't see how if that's the only one he's in. I think although Palmer would be lucky to lose out, for me, Saliba has to win an award. Like he just has to. So
but it's voted by players, isn't it?
This one is voted for the players, yeah.
By the players, yeah.
And actually, apologies
So
as well. I read on Sky Sports that the public also have they've gone that way with this whole thing now as well. Like the public
certain percentage is it of
vote, yeah, as well. So,
like the Eurovision.
Yeah, like the Eurovision.
So Saliba for me, Deg.
Saliba, Howard, who do you think?
I'd have to have Saliba in it for the set for like I think Palmer would be a hard bet though, not getting an award either, like, you know, because he's been so good. But
all right, we'll move on then to the final one. So manager of the season. So Guardiola, Arteta, Klopp, Unai Emery, and Areola. How do you pronounce it? Areola,
Yeah.
So 5 of them: Guardiola, Arteta, Klopp, Emery, and Areola.
Just on that quickly, I think Dan was the one who said Areola could be the first one to get sacked, was it?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Really?
And he looked like it for fucking the first half of the
He
season.
did. He turned it around. In fairness,
No, he
turned
did.
it
In
around.
fairness, he did. And I think down to Solanke, really. I think Solanke has, again, he hasn't made a list there. He's had a cracking season. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't made any
Yeah,
list.
true.
But I don't know. Yeah, but he's had a. I think he's one that's heading for a big move. I think because it looks like they'll make it Champions League football. I think Watkins will be staying at Villa, but I think Solanke is one that a lot of clubs will look at in the summer because I think he's one that deserves maybe a move up the ladder. It'd be interesting to
Yeah,
see where he
fair
could end
point.
up. But yeah, I did say that, Howard. I was just going to point out that I think there's, again, it's very, you can always look at the top of the table, and that's the way that these always go, these Manager of the Year awards and that as well. But I think that, I know they kind of fallen off a bit towards the end, but like Gary O'Neill
Gary
had
O'Neill, yeah,
like
absolutely.
he's had Wolves safe for a long time,
Yeah.
and they were one of the favourites to go down at the start of the season as well. I think they might have been in all of ours, or they would definitely would have been in the discussion at the start of the season with the fact they've sold all their best players. He's come in and like he's managed to keep them comfortably safe, and like Neto being their best player was injured for a lot of the season as well. So like I think that he'd be one for me that maybe should be on that list.
Yeah, 100%.
Ahead of Bournemouth manager, actually. I think O'Neill for me would be ahead of him anyway. And my manager of the season, if I was given it, again, I think it's going to be whoever wins it. But for me, it definitely would be Emery without a shadow of a doubt.
Emery, yeah.
100% without a shadow of a doubt, it would be Emery, considering the fact that he looks like he's going to get them.
I'd go for Emery or Arteta, actually, to be honest.
I think if Arsenal won the league, you'd have to give it to Arteta, because there's a 3-horse race and to win it at that stage. But but I'd be the same as you, Dan. I think Emery is done. I think Emery has to be the shoe in. In the grand scheme,
like he should be, but the likelihood is that like he'll get overlooked.
It's going to be Pep. City or Arteta.
And it shouldn't be like Arteta. I would argue.
Well, actually,
I think like
it's
both for
the players. The players will probably all be like a lot of them are up Pep's hole, aren't they? Not players.
Yeah. They are 100%.
They'll vote for Pep, won't they? But they are but they'll all vote for probably for Pep. Might be a few that might give Klopp it just out of sympathy. Pity.
Yeah.
But,
a pity vote.
A pity vote for Klopp. But I think Emery, for me anyway, manager of the season. Even them 2 big games where they played Arsenal and City. You know, like the big games he done. I just think that it's a pity that they didn't manage to get that conference thing home, because I was very surprised by their getting
losing to Olympiacos, absolutely.
And I think that might have been just an extra thing for him for getting it, but he'd be mine anyway. Emery.
Yeah, Howard, do you go for him as well?
I go for Emery, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, likewise. All right, we'll move on to fantasy football. So we have a few more games left. We're into the last week, and there are 20 points separating first from third. And we also have to mention our very own Daniel Coulter has made an unbelievable comeback, and he is sitting in 4th place. How'd you do it, Dan?
As he said, if only my own club had had as much fight.
It's the steak dinner deck. Like if you threw the steak dinner in front of him months ago, I'd be top of the table now.
Honest to God, it's been a hell of a comeback. Like what could have been, Dan?
Yeah, what could have been? I think Hope Howard gave a few pounds left after the wedding there for a nice meal. But I tell you, one of the big things that I had missed was that Mr. Andrew Curley had a wild card left to play and played it.
Okay.
In game week 37, so that was an interesting one because he left his Arsenal players out, so he has lost out in points there from Saliba and Gabriel, but he has like a full squad of players playing in this week of players, which you wouldn't have had if you hadn't used his wild card. So that was an interesting one. So yeah, he's basically put in his double game week. Most of his, for most of them, he left his Arsenal players on the bench. So
his bench boost is gone, obviously.
His bench boost is gone. I thought he had nothing left. I think when I looked at it, and Alex had looked at it and said it to me, "Oh, he's no bench boost," and I just presumed that everyone would have used a wild card at this stage, because obviously,
jeez, that's a mad one.
Yeah, but I suppose if you think about it, he's been doing so well with his team. Why would you bother changing it? So I suppose he's been there since January or February, like at the top. So, but yeah, it's really interesting there. My brother is currently 6 points behind Andrew Curley. And Hurt Locker is 20 points back. So it's interesting. Hurt Locker is Salah tonight, and he's the only one that has a player left to play of this round of fixtures. So it'll be interesting to see, can Salah
playing tonight?
I would presume so.
Good question.
So. I'll have a look here now. I'd presume so. It'd be I'd say Diaz, Gakpo, Salah without looking at it. Yeah, Diaz,
Okay.
Gakpo, Salah. Yeah. Elliot, Endo. Yeah, it's standard. He's playing Gomez left back. Yeah. I see the talk of maybe someone looking for Gomez in the summer, and I'm not opposed to it. I know
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
he's done
get
all
rid
right
of
at times. I don't like watching him play left back. When the
scumbag.
roller inverted. I would have
Wanker.
called him a scumbag, but I
He's
wouldn't mind.
filth.
I think I with Bradley coming in there as a right back
His
option.
beard is worse than Howard's. No.
Anyway, back to fantasy football. So we have it's a really tight there, and then going into the midweek games, my brother Alex, he doesn't have a full team playing because he has 3 Arsenal players. He had Havertz, Saliba, and Gabriel, so he reaped the rewards point wise, but he doesn't have 11 players playing in the game fixtures this week where Hurt Locker, Alan has, and so does Andrew Curley. So it's going to be interesting. They've all gone for Haaland as their captain. Again, it will be interesting to see what way things look, but it definitely all three will be in a chance, I'd imagine. With even their teams, they're quite similar, a lot of their teams, so I'd imagine
Right.
it'll still be
Who are the
fights to go for.
variables, as you say? Who are the ones to kind of?
What'll happen at the weekend is if Andrew Curley is top, Alex and Alan will have to go and change their teams somewhat because
Okay.
they've got similar enough teams. You're going to have to go with one or two differentials on the final day and just kind of gamble that they'll come up trumps because that's kind of the way it is now. Like they all have kind of similar enough teams. So who's going to make the
So
lads that are
they're all stalking each other, like.
yeah, the lads that are chasing are going to have to maybe possibly captain someone else. So you look at last day of the season, you think City at home, it's probably going to be Haaland again as the obvious captain option. But if you're behind, you're going to have to probably punt on maybe Foden or somebody else and hope that might make the difference. But like it's no tight that like one or two differentials can make a difference. I think because there will be only a small amount of points, I'd imagine, between the three of them. So it's still all to play for the jersey. They're all fighting for that jersey. So interesting. It's interesting how tight it got though, because for a long time it looked like Andrew Curley had 80 points, 100-point lead. He definitely had a fair lead over everybody else, anyway, at least 70 or 80 points. So
Yeah, he took his eye off the ball, obviously.
Yeah, like I've thought him back, but I don't think 81 points is a bit insurmountable at this stage. But you never know. I might just captain fucking Guardiola there last day of the season and hope he bangs in 3 or 4.
Very good. And thank you to all who have entered a team this season, and I hope you all join us again next season. Never know, we may even increase the prize. We might even put in a cash prize or something like that. I should just stop talking because I'm going to get divorced if I keep saying stuff like that.
Good luck to the winner.
Stop. No, the best of luck to all three. Jersey of their choice to the winner. Now, the very last big three predictions of the season. So I've kept it with the title race. So Arsenal versus Everton, Man City versus West Ham, and I just threw in Brighton and Man United. So,
of course he did.
Of course, just to see. Arsenal versus Everton. Dan, how do you think this one is going to go? Final day of the season, where goal difference could come into play.
I go 2-0 Arsenal. I don't think they'll even. Yeah, I don't think Everton or Arsenal will blow Everton away. I think there will be a nerviness if it does go into the last day again. Arsenal have never been there. I do think they'll win the match, but I don't think that they'll be unless it's the thing that City are hammering West Ham and it's the thing that they have to really just fucking go all out attack. I think Arsenal will definitely win though, so I go 2-0. Yeah.
All right, Howard.
I'll say 3-0.
3-0.
Yeah.
Okay. And Dan, Man City versus West Ham.
I will go. Yeah, I'm torn between. I think that the again that there will be nerves there if it does go to the final game, and City kind of have this thing of coming from behind and
messing up.
Yeah. So kind of don't. Even though I feel they're going to hammer West Ham, they have that little thing of will they though? I go. What I'll do is I go 3-1 City.
All right. And Howard.
I'm going to say 4-0.
Okay. And finally, Brighton versus Man United. So, Dan.
I'll go 2-1 Brighton. Yeah, 1 Brighton.
2-1 Brighton.
Yeah, but I don't know what sort of team United lead have back then. But anyway, yeah.
And Howard, what do you think?
I'll say 3-0 Brighton.
Jesus, 3-0 Brighton.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, brilliant. So again, to everyone listening and watching, get your predictions in by this Friday, 10 p.m. this Friday. And if you are able to predict 3 correct results, you'll be a winner of Premier League tickets by 2 to a match of your choice. Apologies, tickets to a Premier League team of your choice. So that's the last one of the
For next
season,
season.
man. It'll be for next season. So next
Yeah,
next
caveat.
Monday night, we will we're gonna know the winner. So either Howard or I will be celebrating and one of us will be crying. Who was gonna break
Best of luck,
first?
man.
Thank you very much, Dan. Dan, you were the one to break first. Hell of a title race though. Good crack.
Yeah, it was. Look, I think as the dust kind of settles on our season, I think that is disappointing, of course, because it looked for a while like it was going to go to the wire with 3, which would have
Yeah,
been cool to have been kind of
absolutely.
getting
Yeah.
to this stage. But probably reflecting back on the season, it's still been a kind of a fairly good season. Back in the Champions League, won a trophy, um,
Yeah.
and with the new players that have been blooded in, like there's a good squad there to kind of go forward. But it's just disappointing to kind of be at this stage of the season. The last couple of games, they really have had nothing to play for.
Yeah.
It's a weird position to be in because I know it isn't a position that we've been in too often, and under the Klopp kind of regime that we haven't been in. With stuff to play for, whether it be even like going for Champions Leagues or going for something. So yeah, I think it'll be great to see Arsenal win it. I think considering the season they had, and actually just on performance levels, I think Arsenal this season have been better to watch and have performed at a higher level. But you have to
Yeah.
hand it to City though as well. We always talk about it at the stage of the season. Like, they haven't messed around at all. They've just gone and they've just pumped teams by a couple of goals. They've won really convincingly. They've done what City kind of do at this stage of the season. You have to kind of hand it to them as well for a consistency and to be able to kind of just produce the levels that they didn't, because a lot of the season they were kind of sticky is the word that comes to
Yeah.
mind, or something like
Yeah.
looked a bit stuck. They just weren't able to kind of go through the gears where, like, you've just seen recently the big players have stepped up as you'd expect them to do. Then one or two others randomly have stepped up. Like Guardiola
Yeah.
can't get over his, because he would have been one, if we
Yeah.
had talked about flop of the season, he
Well,
would have been near enough,
yeah, and I mean
in that
he
in that talk,
was bought as a
big
centre
money.
half. Centre
Yeah,
half,
yeah,
like
yeah.
he's rated as one of
But
the going to be an excellent kind of centre half, but I mean he's been slotted in at left back and I mean he's bombing forward. He's
yeah,
For
getting in.
all the cities fullbacks are centre backs, you know what I mean? They
yeah,
play
yeah,
they
pretty
play
much, yeah.
4 centre backs really, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
fair point, yeah.
that's I think the aim was to put him there, to be honest. When they signed him. And you can
I
see
th
he's quick enough, like he's
he is,
good
yeah.
with his feet, like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
he's
Yeah,
done.
I think
Technically
he
good.
will end up in the middle.
You reckon, yeah.
Yeah, I
He can do
do.
it. He could
Do,
do
yeah.
it if
What's it
Yeah,
called?
he might, but even like even an awful lot in the middle though. Like even a lot of players that can play
Well, I
in
mean,
the
in
middle. But
fairness,
anyway, yeah. Look,
left back has been a question mark over that position for years. So I mean, it's nice to have a player that can actually properly play there. Nothing
Yeah.
against
yeah,
Zinchenko. He
yeah,
was
yeah,
a very good servant to City, and he was excellent for a couple of years. Even Fabian Delph plugged a hole for a season or two as well. Fabian Delph, Jesus Christ.
He was a bit of a
yeah,
header, wasn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Um, just want to reiterate Dan's great point there that I do obviously with my Arsenal hat on, I do feel Arsenal probably have been the best team in the league. And I know the league table doesn't lie, but when you look at the big six and the results they've had against the big teams, Arsenal have really done well this year. And maybe a half against Villa where they were poor has just kind of has cost them. They've won 15 games in 17 games. Yeah, 15 matches in 17 matches. So like,
Yeah.
and they've drawn
Like,
one and lost one. Like, so it's just the finest of margins when you're
of
tracing
course,
as this City team. Like, is just insane.
like
And yeah,
like since
it's
Christmas, like,
yeah,
yeah,
only
yeah,
dropped only 4 points. Like, I mean,
yeah.
it's funny. Well, it's not. It's ironic, all right? The game that kind of gave City the when it changed into their hands was the Villa game, the 2-0
Yeah.
Villa game. And now tonight, you need Villa you need Villa to lose tonight. So Tottenham have, what's the word Emerson uses? So they have hunger tomorrow night. It's
Oh,
mad. It's just one
fire.
leads on to the other, onto the other. So yeah, there's still kind of like tonight is an interesting game. Tomorrow night is a really interesting game. Because I mean, City haven't like we haven't in leagues anyway. Whatever about the FA Cup this season, we did win, But I mean, in the league since Pep has come, we haven't scored at Tottenham's new stadium yet in the league.
Yeah, 2018 was the last time he won in Tottenham.
Yeah. So
That's
I
a
mean,
long time ago, like 6 years ago. Like,
so there are omens there, but I just have the feeling that, like, again, Dan said, when it comes to kind of when City need to get the job done, they get it
yeah,
done. Like, it could be an
and
ugly, yeah,
you have a fit team as well, a fully fit team, no Champions League. You have the FA Cup obviously coming up, but like that was the thing about Arsenal United or Arsenal City this year, and unlike Liverpool, is we had a fit team in the second half of the season pretty much.
yeah,
And we're accounted, and that's man management to a point, like you know what I mean.
yeah.
So look, it's been a mad all right, but I think I, I just I just think Arsenal are going to fall short, and it's a season where I feel like they deserve to win it, but they're not going to win it. So well, we'll see, but
Yeah, and
that's
I
where
know the table, like of course it doesn't lie at that as well, but like at the same time, like look who's in the Champions League final. Do you know what I mean?
yeah
In particular, Madrid. Fair, I don't, Dortmund have actually put in some great performance, but like Madrid in a few of them games, they should have been better out the door. Fair
Uh,
enough, they
yeah
in them, but they didn't perform well. In some of the games, I know, like I think Arsenal actually just performance wise, they especially since Christmas though, they've just
of
they
course.
they haven't folded. Everyone kept talking about they're going to break, they're going to fold, or this or that, but like they haven't at all. They haven't, even when they had that blip against Villa. Then like when they came back,
yeah that
it,
was
it,
they won
all of
all
a
their
sudden they
games.
have where Liverpool, and that's the disappointing part, is the fact when they did have a blip, they just weren't able to gather themselves and go again. Like, and that's kind of the
Yeah
disappointing part.
yeah
Where Arsenal have, so like again, it looks really good for and difficult for the likes of Liverpool and other clubs who are just a bit off that level to get to it, because the level and standard that both City and Arsenal have set this season, in particular, like Arsenal's squad is quite a young squad. Like it is a
yeah.
young squad. City's one would be interesting. I do feel that if they do win the league, and even if they don't win the league, I do think there's a bit of transition coming there in regards to players, possibly
Yeah,
questions to be answered on a
Well,
couple of
it'll
players.
be
But
transitioning in the League Two, Dan. There's hard transitioning to be done down there.
yeah,
Like,
there'll be a lot of transition. The old weight bill for starters will need a bit of trimming. Yeah.
trim the fat.
Yeah, but I do think that it'd be difficult for like Liverpool, and what they can spend in the summer. Like they need to strengthen, they'll need to spend. I don't actually think, if you look at Arsenal now, do Arsenal need to spend big money in the summer to
Nah,
be there or thereabouts again next season? They don't.
oh,
City as well, they don't. Or I think that the likes of the other clubs that are fighting, who want to be challenging for league titles, I think Liverpool need to spend a bit, whether or not they have it to spend, or whether or not they can get the right players in. But I do feel like that it's exciting though, looking forward to,
of
like,
course, yeah.
the fact that there could be a three-way again next season. It'd be interesting with Mr. Slot. The more I've thought about it with
Lot.
Yeah, when I'm coming in, I just kind of feel it'd be interesting. There's a few quick key questions there. Will he sign on Van Dijk? It sounds like that's going to happen. But what I'm hearing, that seems to be the case. But like, will he move Trent into midfield? Could there be, a few little kind of things that could really shake it up? It's just interesting from as much as it's disappointing with Klopp leaving. I am kind of excited about the future with the squad that's there. And I think if I was an Arsenal or City fan, you could not be with what squads they've got. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, fair
looking
enough.
forward as well.
I look forward to seeing what Arnie Sloth can bring to the table. All right, lads, we're going to leave it at there. I'm going to go and get this episode ready, and then I'm going to watch Villa, hopefully, end
oh yeah.
Spurs Champions League dream to set up what will hopefully be a
Come
City
on,
win
you
tomorrow night.
Spurs. Come on, you Spurs.
Jesus Christ.
Will you get a
Okay.
tattoo, Howard, if Spurs were to win?
Yeah,
Don't
actually,
bullshit
there,
us.
there you go. Hold on. Actually, before we go, Howard, gonna put you on the spot here. Okay, if Arsenal are to win the league this coming Sunday, however it happens, will you get a Tottenham tattoo?
No a chance. Not a
No.
chance in a minute.
Okay.
No, no, no. Again,
COYS.
Arsenal tattoo. If you want me to. That's
Ah,
no
here we go.
fun.
When we go for a steak dinner, if you were to win the league, can we get you a women's wedding hat? But can we also get you a Spurs jersey to wear in the restaurant? Spurs kit, full Spurs kit.
Oh God. No.
If Spurs do the
Do the
business,
business.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Okay.
If Spurs win tomorrow night,
Spurs win tomorrow night and Arsenal win the league. I'll go in a full Spurs kit to dinner with Dan.
Very good.
Glorious.
We will
Right.
leave it there. All right, man. Enjoy the football tonight and tomorrow night, and we'll be talking to you next Monday, where we will know and we will conclude season 1 of the Football Fanatic podcast. All right.
Best
Have
of
a
luck,
good
man.
week.
Cheers,
Best
Dan.
of luck.
Good luck.
Cheers,
Good luck.
man. Good luck.